my Meet the Venusians. I got my homepage up, and I'll uh I'll get some stuff queued up here. Um for let me do this edit. So you guys can keep talking, or I'm
Oh yeah,
gonna
I'm just Rob. I'm so excited to have you on today. And David, I think we need to give you a little bit of an introduction, Rob, while you're doing all this.
yeah.
But Rob, we talked before we went on today, and you've got some amazing technology that you're working on. It's very cutting edge. I know it's a lot of pyramid-based technology. Hey, that's me, hair and makeup right there. I do it myself.
Makeup,
Looking
Jared. Look,
good.
I'd love to talk to you right now, but I'm very busy. Have your
Priorities.
people, and we'll get together and do lunch. Makeup, Jerry, makeup.
I love it. But
Yeah,
Rob, we've had like some mutual friends that we've known in the past, and
yeah,
you really are going to be a real tribute for Fred Bell because you knew him so well. But this
yeah.
conversation is going to get into metaphysics at a very high level, off-planet technology, off-planet communication,
Are
Venetians,
we starting the
Pleiadians.
show right now officially, or?
Dude, let's go. We're recording. Let's do it.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take a couple minutes. So, I have to get a couple things up for you here. Okay.
What is
So,
your website address?
thepromiserevealed.net.
Okay, because we'll have that on there.
Yeah.
And for anybody that watched our previous episode, we had Seth on with Omnicore, and he's doing the work of Walter Russell, or modern interpretations of the work of Walter Russell and Mr. Langham. And we had a great conversation about that. And I know Rob, you know Seth very well. Are you up in Mount Shasta? Where are you located?
I am living in Mount Shasta. I've been here. This is the place I've longest lived anywhere, and I've been uh well, I moved here in 2017. I've been doing a conference for 11 years in Mount Shasta. I've been doing conferences for about 13 years nonstop. But let me pull this up here. So I'm just going to pull up something so I'm ready to go when I share some screen, and we can talk about Fred Bell here. So, um, okay. So I guess we can start if you, oops, we can
We
start.
are recording, so we're good.
Okay. So my name's Potter. Thank you all for coming on. Thank you, uh, David in Brazil, and the new David, who I haven't met yet. And of course, you, Sean. It's an honor to be here. So, what I'd like to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to introduce myself a little bit. I'm very fortunate in my life's experiences. I've met many ascended masters. I worked with a famous scientist, and we'll go into him and his technology. But I'd like to share. I was having my first experience. It's on my website that you can look at um, in the About Me section. But um, I was asking my mom, what's going on in the world? I was, in eighth grade. My mother, we lived in Laguna Beach, but my mother, uh, my stepfather was having not committing to her, so she wanted him to put a ring on it, and so she moved to Altadena, and he finally came and got us. But I was living in a little downstairs uh, basement. I had a bed down there, and I asked her, "What's out there in the universe?" She goes, "Well, it goes on forever." And I go, it can't go on forever. I couldn't grasp that. And she goes, "No, it goes on forever." And I go, "What do you think's out there?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "A fence, a wall?" I go, "Well, maybe. What's on the other side?" So I went down in this room, and I was looking at the window. It was, getting duskish. It was still a little bit of light. I was 8 years old, so I was going to bed at 8 or 9 at night then. And a little light maneuvered into the middle of the window, and I received my first telepathic download. And I started to think about higher things, and they basically said, everything's going to come to the head, and then people are going to be removed from the planet. And I kind of was wondering, well, am I going to be part of that or what? And that turns out to be true as we get into the later segments of what we're going to be sharing. And my great grand or yeah, my great grandmother was Catherine Tiffany, and of the thing, she was very metaphysical. She used to have seances with Harry Houdini. Her other uncle owned Tiffany's, but her father invented a green glass for Tiffany lamps, and her husband was influential working with Upton Sinclair to stop the child trafficking. So um, she was very metaphysical and did my hand reading, and my mother inherited that. She was into spiritualism and channeling and talking to people on the other side. She financed Ernest Holmes and Mary Baker Eddy of Science of the Mind and Religious Science. She was like a little debutante. So I have a little lineage there in spiritual ideals and background. So I had a normal life. I lived in Laguna Beach, beautiful town, um, surfers, and I was a lifeguard and very close to the water. And at 16 years old, in high school, I had read Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, and I was talking to someone about pyramids, and this girl goes, "I know the Pyramid Man," and I said, "The Pyramid Man, really?" So she told me where he lived. I went up and knocked on his door. His girlfriend, Bunny, at the time, said, "Come on in. He's on his way back." And he came in with his very first gold pyramid. And so that's where it all began with Fred and I. So I think what I'm going to do here, um, if it's okay, I'm going to, you know, share a little bit about Fred. So Fred Bell, and I'll just pull this up here. Um, I did a little dedication to Fred. And I'm going to share a screen now so you can see that. So this is we're going to go more into my website, but I have a little dedication. This is available. I took this picture um, when we are heading out to the first Whole Life Expo, which is the first expo. There's a guy named Alan Goldman to start it, and we did really good. But so this talks about our life together in the creation of the pyramid systems. So Fred Bell was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1943. And by the age of 8, he was fixing television sets. So you all know his great uncle invented the telephone. His father invented the automatic transmission and the alternator for Henry Ford. So he was growing up in Henry Ford's hemp fields in Ann Arbor, being bounced on the lap of Henry Ford, Bob McCulloch of McCulloch Boat Engines, and Bob Johnson of the Johnson engines. So at the age of 15, he was taken 14 or 15. He was taken out of regular school, and went to the University of Michigan, where he was working and taking classes and studying under um, uh, the physicist Katz. And most people don't know it, but they had a small linear collider. So Fred's pretty much the smartest guy in the room wherever he goes. But here he was studying they send they have like a deuteron, and they would accelerate it, and they would hit it into a calcium atom, and it would in the Wilson cloud chamber, you would see the quarks. You go into the subatomic particles. And so I'm kind of versed in physics. I don't know the math, but I have a good understanding of particles and wave physics. And he was studying the shock wave of the atomic bomb. So he knew what was bad and what was right. At the age of I think, yeah, 14, he was there. At the age of 15 and a half, the government came and took him to his house, took him to his parents' house. They said, "We're taking your son," which was illegal. "We're conscripting him into the Air Force." So he went out to UC Santa Barbara, where I went to school, and studied in the ROTC program, and he got his PhD in physics. So then in 1963, at the age of 20, excuse me, I got a little nose itch here. He goes out to Point Reyes, California, where they were installing the newest, the latest, the greatest radar set called the ANFS P-38, super high technology. And they found out that, people's moods and everything was changing. It became part of it was part of the Montauk Project and other things like that as well. The cyclotron and the other things that were involved there. So the base commander goes, well, who's in charge of this new thing? And I could just imagine this. I'm making this up, but I could just imagine the guy go, well, sir, that kid up there crawling around, that's Private Bell. He's in charge. He said, how old is he? 20 years old. So he's there for about a month. The system's working, and he's in the radar room, and they're all of a sudden seeing UFOs during the Cuban Missile Crisis coming down at 15,000 miles an hour and vectoring down to Cuba. So he's writing out the report, and he turns it in, and the guy who's in charge there he goes, thank you thank you, Bell, and he burns it in front of him and puts it in a trash can. He says, sir, that's a violation of code number, blah, 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 blah. So this goes on for about 2 weeks. Fred had a motorcycle. He got drunk one Saturday night, and he went out to the base commander's house in front of his thing and did donuts at 3 a.m. So the next day he came in, and he'd been complaining and doing the same thing every day. And he said, Bell, did you see a UFO today? He goes, yes, I did. And blah, 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 blah. He's really just a precocious, snotty. He doesn't respect authority in that sense. He respects truth. So they basically brought in the MPs and put him in a straitjacket, and they took him to the psych ward. So he got there. He talked to the guy, the psychologist. Says, "Look, I'm not crazy. This is like a disciplinary shut me up type of thing." He says, "Tell them I want an honorable discharge, and I'll and I'm gone." So he got back to the base, and that very day, he left the base. So he's out there, and about 10 days later, Werner von Braun's assistant, he's already got top secret clearance and security, and they know he's a wunder kid in physics and science. And he gets hired there, and guess where they put him? On Apollo 1. So within 2 weeks, he's down. I think it was in Houston where they were building the rockets. And so he was there working on they put him on inside the capsule electrical of the first Apollo mission. So he goes after about a week. He says, these guys he told the superior, you're going to have fires in here. These guys don't know what they're doing. He's saying, you can't do that. And they're laughing, you little punk. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So finally, he's there for about a month, and he gets sick of it. And he finally confronts Werner von Braun in the hallway. And Werner von Braun, he said he was coming down the aisle, and there were like a bunch of lab coats. Werner von Braun in front. He said it was like a flock of geese, a V coming down the hallway. And he goes, Dr. von Braun. And he goes, yes. He says, I'm Private, or I'm Fred Bell. And he goes, yes, Bell. How can I help you? He says, sir, you're going to have a fire. There's shoddy electrical work and not very high quality things going on in that. And I introduced a guy named William Tompkins to Michael Salla, who wrote a book about him, Michael Salla. William Tompkins was also a contactee, and he did mention the quality was very bad. But so Fred gets fired, files suit with the ALCU immediately, and about 2 years or a year and a half later, his attorney calls him and says, you won your lawsuit, you got punitive damages, and Werner von Braun wants to speak to you. So he took his money, and Werner von Braun says, oh, Mr. Bell, sorry, we're so sorry, we made a mistake. 3 astronauts died at the Cape. Okay, so he was right, So they said, we'd like you to be in charge of all electrical in the rockets and everything, and set our quality control standards and set up a protocol. And he said, I'd love to. No, he did, and he got offers from McDonnell Douglas and Northrop Grumman. He went to work with McDonnell Douglas, and he was working on in they were building the Saturn, the liftoff things in um, Long Beach. And he said at the end of every day, a spaceship would come down. It would send two probes, and one would go counterclockwise from the bottom up, and then they would reverse their things, and they went up twice and they'd leave. So they wanted to see what was going on there. So he worked for other agencies, and I'll kind of skip over that. And by the time he worked with Nick Edwards, who he stopped working with because Nick wasn't Nick was doing he was trying to make pyramids out of plastic and aluminum, which you shouldn't do because they produce positive ions. So let's fast forward to my encounter, my first meeting with Fred Bell. So I go up to his house, and he comes in with his first pyramid, and he sits down and he talks to me. And then we kind of go into a disciple, uh, uh, master relationship. He was very closely initiated. He was the one student of the master that he was uh, going to see in San Francisco, and his name was Syringa Roy. And he started the Siva Kalpa family, an enlightened master, and he had an ashram on Haight and Waller and Haight Ashbury. He was the love guru. And so I met him. At the time I met him, he never spoke a word. I met him like 8 or 9 times, and he would just sit in the lotus position and smile and laugh. And I asked him questions inwardly, and he would answer them like I was learning, getting into Kriya Yoga. And he taught me the dragon's breath. It's a kind of breath, and it answered a question for me. So now Fred and I are going to these various shows, and he starts to have communications. I met him in 74. He was already having contacts with a Pleiadian named Semyasi, the same contact as Billy Myers. And I'm going to show you something I'll actually show you something right now, real quick. This contact from the Pleiades book. And there's a new one out by one of the researchers, but a very famous Air Force Early guy. You ever heard of Wendell Stevens?
Not familiar with him.
Yeah, they're not familiar. So he was a famous guy stationed in Arizona. Anytime UFOs would come, they'd go and scramble. And there's a famous aeronautical guy who was making fun of UFOs and they had to go to this as pilots as requirement. They were snickering in the back. And after he goes, "Why are you snickering?" He goes, "Sir, they're real UFOs. We chase them." And they convinced him, and he spoke, I think it was at a meeting with Johnson, and he stood up and said, he said, "These guys say there's real UFOs and all this stuff." And so somehow he shot himself like this, but he was still alive. He lobotomized himself. And somehow a week later, he was taken out and found he shot himself this way. So they're pretty serious, the group. So here is a certificate of authenticity of the Billy Meyer book, 0002. Billy Meyer has number 1. Now, I was given this by Wendell Stevens because I took him to Egypt for a UFO thing some time ago. So I have a lot of experiences with the Pleiadians. And what was happening was they were taking me out of my body. They would have me do certain specific protocols. And Fred would bring me up late at night. And I said, "Why are we coming up so late?" He says, "Everyone is sleeping. So the astral plane is quiet and you can have your experiences." And what would happen was it would feel like I gotta get rid of this itch here. It would feel like the house, that molecules everywhere were falling apart in the house. I felt it was like this big tension. And then the next thing I know, I would be leaving my body. I would see the earth. I'd come up and the sun was rising in New York, and I could see the house, and it was dark on this side. It was hard to explain, but I had many years of this type of activity, and I was learning a lot. And so I'm kind of an introvert on some ways, and yet I have amazing psychic experiences. First thing, when I met Fred, he read Autobiography of a Yogi, Initiation Human and Solar, and Autobiography of a Yogi was very close. And 1978, Babaji, I was at a rainbow gathering. I had quite a few experiences. I met a lot of extraterrestrials there, and there was raining, and I just made it up there at 4th of July for the prayer and healing. And so I just started walking off after the main ceremony, and the sun came out. When the Om started, I did Om, and this guy goes, the master wants to see you. The master wants to see you. And I already kind of had, I said, well, I kind of already have master. He looked at me, says, and I go, okay, I'll go see the master. And I go in this tent, and there is the real Babaji. And he's yeah, here's a picture of him. He looks similar to this, not really. His jaw wasn't that square.
That,
He looked,
Rob,
yeah,
is that the Babaji that they mention and talk about in the Autobiography of a Yogi?
yeah. He was
That's the
actually,
one.
yeah.
Wow.
They call him the Desus Guru. He's one of the Lapika Lords of Karma, which is he kind of accelerate spiritual growth. There's a lot of negative things. The planet has been owned by demons. Our planet, the interior government sided with the Luciferian rebellion. That's another story. But here, this is him looking like a 19-year-old. His waist got to be 24 inches. His lotus, I was like 78, I was 21. So my lotus was, I have a full lotus. I was extremely healthy. And I'd already been practicing the breath of fire and other things. And he taught me the science of the still breath. So that was one of my first encounters with the cosmic masters. And then fast forward, I started meeting them in things. So let's get into, I'm going to go into, I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to go into some of the products. And I'm going to take you through the pyramid energy and let people get an idea of how that works. So I'm going to go into, I'll take you to my homepage real quick here. So if you want to check out my site, folks, I'm going to give you access to my inner circle. This is my homepage. These are my various blogs, and we might get into some of this maybe in another time, but I have a lot of experiences with the extraterrestrials. So I have a summer conference, and we'll go to that, but I want to get right into the pyramid systems. So I'm going to take you through the various pyramidal designs we have here. We have 3 pyramids, orgone plated. The gold pyramid has nickel and gold over a steel frame. And then we have a copper pyramid with nickel, gold, and copper. And then we have a silver one with nickel, gold, copper, and silver. Now, gold in our studies with Thelma Moss will put you into alpha. You realize my head is in the king's chamber. I'm going to take you through how pyramids work, what they're meant for. I'll tell you about the Great Pyramid, when it was built, who built it, and all of that. So this one, and this one you wear on your head. And this one here is designed to protect the house from what are called elf waves and stuff like that. So we go down here. Oops. And I'll go back here. That's that one. And then I want to go into sharing. This is normally 6.5 feet tall. And this is a large radiator. It acts as a scalar wave device and is actually key for another one. This is called the MIDI Fire Star. This acts as a natural spring energy. The Pleiadians gave us these various configurations, hand delivered to Fred, including this jewelry design. Not there's 144 pyramids. This star shield is a smaller version and protects your body. This is a Tesla power supply. it's a key to the system in an ion shower. We can maybe go into those. And this is an omnion, and I make sleeping pyramids. And this one is a new one. I make it. I'm vastly improved on Fred's design. We got 3D printing now, extremely expensive to make, but they're very special. They set a tone and energy for the house like nobody's business. And I'll show you some. Then I have a larger pyramid like this. It's a 12-inch one. And I recommend this one for your house because you could put this uh, uh, you can put the 12-inch one over your vitamins and water. It makes wine. There's lots of experience. So here is what is a pyramid. So let's go through it. A large volume of magnetic concentration exists within the pyramidal boundaries, which helps protect the human body from adverse effects of negative energies and radio frequencies with regular use. The pyramid help create a beneficial environment for your body to function properly. I wrote this whole What is a Pyramid in about an hour. It took me a little longer, but this is all from memory because I lived this life with Fred. It's a friend of mine in Maui who did that little image. So it's defined scientifically as progressive energy transferred through geometric focusing and dynamic electrical amplification over a measured plane of coordinates. Simply stated, the pyramid shape acts like a lens and focuses the Earth's magnetism. The pyramid is shaped like the carbon atom, which is one of the base structures of the creation: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen, earth, air, water, and fire. So all of these things are related to the ancient history, which we've lost from our destruction of the technology. We were basically Cro-Magnums from a previous Earth cycle, uh, and that was called the world of Quello. But um, we had destroyed it with nuclear, so we had diverted. And when the Anunnaki came here and kind of used us like slaves and genetically altered us, um, we developed pretty quickly into what we know now as humans, and they know our energy very well. And as the demons, they been doing a lot of manipulation. So it acts like a carbon atom, and when it's aligned to magnetic north, like this, straight on. And so gold's molecule is pyramid shaped. So no matter whenever you have gold, that's a frequency that's connected to the creator. It's immutable. It doesn't change. It's always there. When you align it to magnetic north, it goes ring. So magnetic north is the key to this, and it creates a negative ion effect in the body. And it actually doesn't produce negative ions that you can measure, but it does. We can prove it because it takes acid wine, it ages wine quicker, grapefruit juice, lemonade, everything can become mellower. So it's producing life force, prana, pyramid, pyramid, fire in the middle. This is the life force in the middle. So it acts like a prism and reflects the Earth's magnetism in 7 levels of energy, which are known by esotericists. The top of the pyramid would be red, and you get down to, and the bottom would be violet. So, so there's seven levels in there. So I'll get this showing. This is the heart wave that Dan Winter talks about, and this is called the ultimate physical atom, or the Anu, and it has 49 levels here. So there's 7 times 7 is 49, and this is a fractal of everything in the universe, and I'll explain how that works. I'll stop share for just a moment on that. So you have electrons and revolving around a proton and a neutron, and so what's happening is that's what you see, that's what you think is physical, but it's not actually physical. If you try to make a perfect circle, you can't. It's really called phi. The base divided by the height of the pyramid comes up with pi, the number that progresses to infinity. And that's why it's on the dollar bill. A lot of people think the Freemasons are bad. They weren't always bad, they were taken over. But the pyramid's supposed to represent the infinite progression of abundance, but they've messed it all up. And of course, the no all-seeing eye, they want you to think it's the Illuminati. Originally, it's the eye of God. It's the presence of God. And in the Bible, Isaiah 19:19, uh, it says, in the midst, in the land of Egypt, on the border thereof, there lies an altar to the Lord. And the pyramid does represent that. You can see the Trinity. There's a lot of sacred geometry, and I could go on for hours about that. So it was built by a combination of Anunnaki and humans who were building it, and there was technology in it to stabilize the earth. It wasn't, it was a beneficial group of Anunnaki. I've asked the security chief of Elan. I said, the Anunnaki bad or good? He said they're both separated by thousands of years, and there's a whole history that will be revealed fairly soon. The Earth is going, we're moving into a golden age now. We're no longer in the dark, neutral, light age, neutral, dark age, all that's gone now. There's a
So,
lot
hey,
of happening.
Rob, I love you, man. This is beautiful. And
Ask
you
a
know,
question.
I'm very close with Dan, and I just wanted to say a couple things real quick.
Yeah,
Um, when we were talking about the pyramid stabilizing the Earth's atmosphere, I know we were talking earlier about, just some conquest going on out in the universe where they were blowing stuff up. I want to say the planet that has the Kuiper Belt itself was actually a planet before it blew up, but there was a lot of stuff going on out there that was making the universe or the galaxy unstable. So they came in and put these pyramids to stabilize the Earth's atmosphere. Is that kind of a premise there
not
that
the
would?
atmosphere, but well, I'll talk a little bit about that. So, there was a big planet that was the morning star that was associated with the Luciferian rebellion, and that was called Maldek. It had a moon called Tiamat, and it just exploded. So the remnants of that are the asteroid belt, and then the smaller chunks are the Kuiper or Kuiper belt, and the Oort cloud are the smaller particles. And so, but Venus now is the morning star, and it has to do with Christ. Christ was an ascended master of 24 million years, one of the four Kumaras who incarnated physically and ascended in one lifetime. And he's been an ascended master incarnating not only on this earth, but on multiple worlds as what we would call a world teacher. And there are a lot of those. And in his particular incarnation here, because of the Luciferian rebellion, um, he was chosen uh, as a very high ascended master to hold what's called the creator sun. Each galaxy, there is no like physical being who's God. It's a pure creative essence. We think the individualized consciousness, or what we would call the logos of this galaxy, is a theophanic angel, Archangel Michael. We picture him as a man, but he's a reflection of the infinite creator, which nothing can be said, known, spoken. It's the beginning, the middle, the end, always was and will be. Alex Collier and I call it the isness. It simply is. And there is a hierarchical structure. I recommend people read the Rancha book if you want to know how finely tuned the hierarchies are. And there was a default in that heavenly administration that's allowed some things. That's going off track a little bit. But Christ is a very special incarnation. And for 3.5 years, Jesus the Christ, which is an office, but he was at that point the living word of God. That's the highest incarnation of anyone on the physical plane. And it was chosen the earth because this was where one of the last stands of the Luciferian rebellion. And that's on my website under another section. So I was going to explain the the electron and proton. So when we look at something, say we want to see an atom. Imagine we're standing on an orange. Orange represents the earth. Okay. Uh, and or we're standing on one atom. The whole Earth is an atom. We reach down and we pick up a cherry. That's the size of an atom on the Earth. I mean, in relativity. So um, we push the cherry. It seems solid, but it's not. It's actually a bunch of electrons moving, but they don't move like we think they do in the planets. They actually move, stop, and dance. So there we get that what's called the wave or the string theory. Is it physical? Yes, for a moment, but then in the instant it's changing. Everything in the universe is beginning was the word sound. It's a frequency, and then light. Okay, so light is knowledge, and knowledge is power. And so that's why the dark force keeps you in darkness and misleads you and keeps knowledge from you. So you're weak and they can parasite off the human energy. That's again part of that Luciferian rebellion. So we're looking at this tiny little atom, but in reality, it's these little particles revolving around something so small you can't imagine. Now, in every electron revolving around one atom, like in like in water, there's two hydrogen, there's one hydrogen and two oxygen, right? In carbon, there's six, you know. So um, what we're looking at is extremely small. Within those electrons now, there are 49 of what Dan Winter has termed the heart wave. And these are known as the 49 fires of Agni. Why do people value diamond? All shapes have energy fields. With 49 of these, okay, so now we're looking at the astral plane. In the astral plane, they have lifetrons. They're a little different. Everything is self-illuminated. It's not like the sun. Everything just has multiple colors. I've been there. We all have in our sleep. So, and if we're looking at the atoms on the astral plane, we go to their electrons and we would find 49 electrons from the lower mental plane. Okay. And then we go on that, and we look and we see the Buddhic or intuitional plane, the higher mental plane. There's 49 atoms there. And above that, we would see the causal plane. And above that, we would see the Atmic plane or the plane of pure soul, and then the Logoic plane. So it's like a Russian doll, and you have all of those particles within you. But due to the veil and to the blockage and to the nature of life on the earth, we are blocked from the knowledge of our previous lifetimes and the true nature of the universe. So we're in an ignorant state and we don't really understand or know that. But the key is coming now, and through a lot of changes, the earth is moving into a golden age, and there's a lot of things, nature itself is changing. We're the bad guys and the criminals who are not humans, or they're hybrids of fallen Anunnaki, like you know the Rothschilds, or some people call them the Rothschildians. And those they have created Rosemary's babies. They violated universal law by stepping down their genetics inside a higher dimension where the physical ones could have sex with humans. And they had both men and women, and these created coven leaders. That's another story. I'll go into that. So here we see, why do people value diamonds? Pyramid shape. There's a pyramid. So you got gold things. And what we see, the spiral nature of the galaxy, and you have the moon and it affecting the body and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things to know about blood and the toxins in the blood, and how we roll on the earth. So what creates the life force or prana? There's several sources. There's an ion exchange in the membrane between the alveoli in the lungs there, where you expel carbon dioxide and you bring in electrons, which are called prana, and they're created by, they're called various names. The Chinese call it chi, the Tibetans call it sumo, the Japanese call it ki, the Germans call it odetic force, Science might call it negative ions, however, or plasma, but I'm measuring the pyramid structure for ions that would be found. The reason for this is that the actual life force field is contained in the negative ion via the heart wave or the nu, the other ultimate physical atom. So they're created by thunderstorms. When the air gets really dirty, it reaches a positive potential, like in Palm Springs, where I lived for many years. Um, it would get really hot. The wind would blow across the desert. And we know that by the fawns, the witches' winds, the Scirocco, the Hamzin, the Santa Anas, the Chinook. All around the world, these are very high positive ions. In nature, we should have a balance between the two. But due to the attrition and all the pollution, of course, radiation experiments, which is the primary source of that, global warming and everything. So electrons, water meeting air. Woohoo! The Earth is two-thirds ocean. So when the winds blow, that creates negative ions. Waterfalls, okay? And you look at the number one source is actually algae in the ocean, which is at 60 feet. And so when it gets too warm or too hot, we get what are called red tides. You get microcystis, and that's a poison, and you get fluorescent waves. You can see them breaking. So this is some of the science of the basic things that people should understand about electricity and how their body runs. I mean, you can live you can live if you're bleeding out, you could probably live 2 or 3 minutes, but most people, if you don't have oxygen, you're going to go very quickly. So negative ions are very important. As you imagine in the old days when you get on a plane filled with people smoking cigarettes, cigars, someone opens up some acetone. I mean, we're destroying the oxygen. And so our Earth is just as sensitive as that. We have the mesosphere, the troposphere, and above the troposphere is the mesosphere. So there is a very thin layer of ozone. And we're ripping holes in that, mostly nuclear radiation and jet aircraft. It's not cow farts. And the Earth is one of the worst that's done that. The real cause of global warming right now is called solar warming, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's see the negative ions, and this is negative ions, water meeting air, woo, surfing, and plants. Whenever you go in the forest, you're feeling invigorated. And this affects your serotonin. When positive ions go up, your serotonin levels become very high. There's more crime rate, there's more accidents, people freak out, and the moon does that as well. So you combine the moon with some positive ions, and it gets really bad. In New York, the oxygen levels in a underground parking is like 7%. So, you have smoke, smog, the British coined when they had coal, and the mist, the fog. So these are deadly things, and people die. In China and Wuhan, they were protesting, so they're putting a lot of 5G, and the people were dying not from the virus, but from being electrically irradiated. So here we have the Hamzin. Say this is in South America. They're called the witches' winds. We call them the Santa Ana, blah, blah, blah. So when these winds come, and we've seen the stories in all the movies where the big things come in. So this condition exists on the average. Ham, uh, Hamza means 5, and Hamzin means 50. So 50 is the average number of days that these conditions exist in Egypt. And so if you commit a crime, you can say temporary insanity, Your Honor. It was the Hamzin. I went crazy from the positive ions. And in other places, the 70s, the Russians were seen wearing pyramid hats on their head on the Manchurian border in the late 70s. A pyramid worn on the head can help mitigate the effects of high positive ion atmosphere. A pyramid is shown to act as a Faraday cage, which can protect the body from radiation. The pyramid is resonant to the Earth's magnetic field, creates life force energy. Pyra from the Latin word fire, and medi from the Latin word medi, middle. So pyramid actually translates. So there's a passage, I talked about that in Altar. So the pyramid principle, metaphysically speaking, is the principle of matter made flesh. It's a material object, yet it has an aura like plants and animals. So you take a Carillion photograph of this, and it's not going to have any aura. If I touch it for a while, I can transmit some of my plasma, my body aura. It'll show a little tinging, like in uh, George Harris says he had a picture of a hand with that was holding a coin and showing that a little bit. But so that's the principle of matter made flesh, and the Christ principle is the principle whereby matter conditioned by mind in flesh through time and space returns to spirit. So that is how we, as humans on the earth, at the bottom of the barrel of the densest material universe, other than the lower astral plane, which is the antimatter universe, which has been a big push by the demons. But here we see a pyramid connected to a Tesla coil. Look at that. You have a vortex like nobody's business. You want to know why I'm wearing a pyramid? Look at that. You got the masculine feminine vortex. It's actually a transdimensional portal and is considered extremely important in interdimensional physics on many worlds throughout the Galactic Confederation of Light or Federations. The pyramid is used and understood and respected as responsible for enhancing life and utilized in a multitude of ways. On each world, the number of sides and angles of the pyramid are different. The type of life, the geological makeup, the specific gravity and consciousness that exist on these worlds will determine the exact dimensions. However, among the galactic it's confederation and their federations, it's common knowledge that the level of culture and consciousness upon a planet can be ascertained by observing the condition of the pyramid temples that exist on that world. There's a group called Melchizedek. Salem Melchizedek incarnated on the earth. He was a teacher that started the Christian, the Jewish, and the uh, Mohammed, I'm sorry, the Islamic religion. So, and I was asked by Valiant Thor, and I joined the Order of Melchizedek. And here's Valiant Thor right here. I was telling you, I met Don Thor after meeting Gabriel Green. I asked what they wore or one or the other. I said they're into the 50s. He came down in a mint condition, 57 blue Chevy with three blonde girls wearing 50s gear with knee-high socks, saddle shoes, white blouses, and plaid miniskirts, not like Austin Powers, but a little higher than they would in the 50s. And he was wearing jeans with penny loafers with a penny in it and his hair slicked back in the ducktail. That was in 1982. And so this is Valiant Thor. He's not actually from Venus. He materialized there one day, and he was adopted by the Thor family. He's been here for over 2,000 years. The Ascended Master I met, everyone's looking at them because they were speaking Afrikaans with clucking. So they made a standout. They were told that the Venusians would be there. And so an Air Force photographer named Augie Roberts went there, and they were speaking at Howard Menger's farm. He was a friend of mine. I took him to Egypt along with Wendell Stevens in 1991. So this is the negative use of pyramids, and this is ripping holes. This is in Alaska. This is called the HARP program. So why do we need pyramids? Because we've destroyed a world of electromagnetic pollution, and right now the Earth is filled with universal discord and anxiety. We have chemtrails, we have impure water, insecticides, pesticides, fluoridated water, ELF, 5G meters, all the food, smog chemicals, vaccinations, blah, blah, blah. We are being assaulted. Everything that's created by these elite corporations who control the money, and people are waking up now that the federal governments were created by demons, and there may be well-intended people in there, but they're not, they don't have any more money. That's another story. This is a famous contactee named George King. He had a lot of contacts. I met him as well. So the pyramid systems are what Semyasi called divine intervention or extraterrestrial technology to help us help ourselves. They can't do things for us, but they can do many things. So these are the seven sisters, which represent the brightest stars that we can see in the Pleiades. They're in the Taurus cloud, there's 250 stars. So I've had a lot of experience with them, and this is like the gathering where I met Babaji. I was taken into his tent in 1978, and he taught me Kriya Yoga. And this is one area of one of the gatherings. This device the Pleiadians gave us, it's called an irradiator. It creates scalar waves. And of course, all this ties in with gemstones. All frequencies and all sounds, all light has frequencies. And this is the secret of healing is sound, light, and color. Now, as I told you, I've known Sandra Michael since I was 17. She was coming around and studying under Fred. She learned a lot from him. She should have taken the time and worked with Daniel Winter to what Fred was doing was creating the X1 healing machine. So this is all related to sounds and frequencies. This is one of the devices that I have and the musical scale. So I'll explain to you about one of Fred's things. So I'll go in.
Rob, do you
Okay,
mind if I just real
please.
quick?
I yak forever. Just raise
Oh
your
no, I
hand.
love it. I love it. But you were talking about molecular structure. I've often been told that crystal, like the actual quartz crystal itself, is one of the closest material elements to pure light. And the crystals always come out also in a triangular fashion when they're being made. Is there any like I don't know if you can see behind me, but I'm like surrounded by amethyst, and my whole room here is actually all crystals. But do you want to talk a little bit about the power of quartz crystal? Because it
Yeah, I got a
seems
bunch
like
of
the
them around
molecular
me on the
structure that
desk.
is very similar.
Yeah. So, what the Pleiadian Semyasi told us is that the quartz crystal is a perfect synthesis of spirit and matter in zero time. So they amplify thought forms. Now, on the other worlds, they don't mine their planet. They keep it in ground. So right off the bat, the Anunnaki coming here and mining our gold was an act of desecration of the earth. You know, we're using them and they're already above ground so they can help us. They amplify our thought forms. And so in our advanced pyramid systems, which I'll show you here in a minute, um, we simply create positive energy and we can program different frequencies. It's kind of like uh, what Sandra Rose Michael is doing or other people with the Reich machine. I'm friends with Matthew Reif, whose uncle was Royal Reif, who was being hunted by the authorities back in the day.
Oh my God, dude, that is such a great story, right? We've talked about him very many times. And the one thing that I told you earlier is that the greatest part of these calls, number one, is to introduce you and get the current knowledge, but to give credit to people like Fred Bell, to give credit to Rife. With Seth, it was Langham and Russell. And that's so fascinating. I do want to just circle back and touch on a couple quick things, and I want to throw it back to
Sure.
you because I love the fact that you bring Dan into the equation as well, because I'm good friends with Dan. What they talk about with the Anunnaki, just real briefly, there was Enlil and Enki, and one was good and the other one was bad. It just so happened that the bad one ran the military, and he kind of, but there was a good and bad part there. But the interesting part, Dan has done a call with a gentleman named Sam Brazanovich, who is one of the people that he's a
Osmanagic from yeah, I
yes.
went there in 2013 with JJ
Did,
Hurtak. Yeah,
did you go to the Bosnian pyramid?
yeah, I did.
Dude, that is amazing. And so what's really
Huge.
fascinating, yeah, we're going to talk about that. The Bosnian pyramid is one of the only ones where people are allowed to go down underneath the pyramid in those tunnels. And it was said that, at the time, like you were talking about earlier, the Earth's atmosphere was not conducive to some of the off-planet people that were here, and they would go into those chambers to regenerate. And so, with Sam having literally, he said that there's 4 to 5 thousand documented case study testimonials of people that have gone down into that tunnel and experienced somewhat miraculous things happen with them health wise. And that circles back with you wearing the pyramid on the head. But we can take that anywhere you want to go. But I was wondering, first off, that experience of going to the Bosnian pyramid, that's when was
It's a
that?
giant mountain. He's been traveling the world and studying all these research and pyramids, and here he is in his home country. It was riddled with war. Neighbors were killing each other. It was just ridiculous there. The dark force was influencing them, and it was really crazy. But it's a kind of a war-torn child trafficking hub there. But they're cleaning it up now, so you don't actually go. It's a giant mountain. So there's houses on there. It's like 3 times the size of the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
So, and it was built with a different, it wasn't blocks, it was built with a type of slurry. And I have one of those pyramids pieces in one of my devices, but it's a special rock. And it was so sensitive. Now the tunnels are not there. They're called the tunnels of Rovni. It's a couple miles away. But as he gets in there, if they move a rock, all of a sudden the water comes up. These very special things. And as he opened caves, you can see orbs going out. So I was in there with JJ Hertak, Keys of Enoch guy. Him and I are very simpatico. He's an amazing guy. So you know, I took pictures and orbs were going through, but the negative ion content in there is outrageous. So it's super, super high. So people do get healed in there. It's quite chilly, quite cool, but somehow it feels invigorating and it's good. There's a whole nother series of complexes around there. And so, you know, in Romania, there's a book called Forgotten Genesis in the Transylvania Sunrise series. Peter Moon is translated from Romanian. The
It's
government found was looking over with satellites, and the deep state came to Romania and said, "Hey, listen, we're coming in with a military force. We're going to set up a perimeter around the mountain. There's some anomaly in there. We want it." And the Romanians go, "No, you're not. Who the hell do you think you are?" They go, "Oh, yes, we are. We're going to collapse your economy, or we're going to create a war." But it's divinely protected, and there was a general in charge of what we would call the X Files, but they called it um, the Zero Files or something. His name was General Obadiah. He was very spiritual, and he was gifted with a young um, psychic about 17 years old, who, when he was born, the parents couldn't cut his umbilical cord. So a doctor came in, or he couldn't cut it. So they got to get a hacksaw. So it had to keep pulsing. And like, it's best to keep your umbilical cord on for 5 or 10 minutes, lay the baby on, but they want to cut it off. And then they give them drugs and it's a mess. And then they give them this when they're born. Oh, we're just going to give your baby a watch, and they give them 3 of those, and thus you have autism. So here he is. The government said, look, they gave the parents like $100 a month, which is a lot of money for them. And if anything happens, he was very quiet. He didn't talk much. He would sit there in contemplation. And finally, he started talking, and he says, "Can I just meditate?" And they got a little freaked out. They called the government, and he went into this program, and he became very close with this general who protected him. And when the governments were coming, they sent a Freemason, a very high level Illuminati, hybrid black magic Pindar type of being. And he came there, and he's very arrogant. And he said, well, they made a deal where Romania would own everything. Uh, the Americans could use their technology. They could see it. They could have scientists come in. They could maybe take some artifact, but they always had to return it. So the story is they finally get in there. They set up a military group, and the guy who wrote the book, he said, boy, the soldiers they could just stand there for hours and not move in the hot and just kind of be guarding the place. Those were mind controlled super soldiers that don't remember anything. So it was kind of cute. But so they get there, they cordon off the area. It's all blocked off. Some of the things have changed now, but they had these great psychics who said, there's like a handprint, like on the Egypt thing where you have to do it. Same thing in the spaceship. They have a key signature to the captain. Only they can pilot it, or with their permission, someone else can pilot it. Fred's done that, and that's Pat Flanagan. It's actually a disc like this, not with the star, but just a pyramid disc. Pat Flanagan saw that in the Great Pyramid. Fred had already created this, so he created something different. But obviously, this is more powerful because of the stones.
Just going to jump in. I'm going
Yeah,
to jump in real quick. So, because I saw that video with Peter Moon, that was on Dr. Michael Sala's channel.
yeah,
And they talk about that. And that was actually like an Akashic Records library that was
right.
just in this big dome of crystals, right? And I don't know if you've seen the most recent one with Karina Pataki, but her
Yeah,
and Elena
I've been trying to reach out for her. With her and Lena Denon.
in touch with Karina, so I could get you in touch with her. I'm not in touch with Elena, but
I
they
would
both
love for you.
went there.
I tried to talk to Elena. Elena, I'll just say we vary on lots of things, and Valiant Thor. I'm
Yes,
not want
exactly.
to create
Valiant.
I
Yes.
don't want to create animosity. I said, I can't believe she's making such crazy statements about certain things. And he said her microchip and her fertile imagination has taken the better of her. And she's making some very incorrect statements, but she's having very high level experiences. I'll say
Very high
that.
level. But I was going to say they just went back there like 3 months ago. It's on Dr. Sala's page,
I
and
saw
they
that.
went in. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, they didn't go inside. They were just standing outside where the
Okay.
old Sphinx lives. There's a Sphinx in in they're all over the world. There's one in Egypt where JP went. There's an inner thing there. So let me explain about that one. So you go in there, it's a big dome. The room is split in half. And there's a movie called I forget what it was. They pretend it's on another planet where they land and they start going in and looking underground. But basically, so they went in there and you had to put your hand on it. So the psychic goes, I'm going to do it. He went up and he dropped dead. Not the right vibe.
Yeah.
The second guy, they look again. The other psychic goes, I can do it. Boom, dead. So who does it? The little Brad Cesar. He gets opening to the thing. So he's talking with, they call him the Venerable One, a high level Freemason who likes to brag about how they control everything and what they're doing. But Cesar's super psychic and he gets all the information from him. And all he wanted to get out of there was he was very excited. They had big jars of monatomic gold, which the Anunnaki used to extend their lifespan and stuff. So, um, I know that book very well. I read every word. Peter Moon, you know, my friend Raymond Keller traveled in time, and Peter claims he's into time, but he didn't even want. I said, "Let's go to lunch," and he all he did was talk about himself. And I said, Peter, my friend Raymond Keller traveled back in time to 1954 to the first Giant Rock convention. You want to learn about time travel, and he didn't ask a question. and uh and I was trying to explain stuff to him, and he goes, I don't know, you just babble on. I said, Peter, it's the same thing with, I feel the same way about you. But I really respect his ability to translate. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to the stuff that I have and my friends that I've experienced meeting ascended masters, it becomes very difficult to assimilate. You can hear me going like pretty quick and it just comes and goes, and I don't want to block anything. So they get in there, and again, there's a giant table with giant chairs for beings like 12 to 14 feet high, and a large table. And if you put your hand over these little squares, type of genetic being would pop up. And then you put a hand over another and you'd see what it would look like if you spliced them. There was a like a time travel little thing where you put your head on it, and it takes a while to do that. But so there's a two little like what are they called? The ones in Egypt, the obelisks, the towers, I forget. There's two of them there with the crystal, and only Brad Cesar can get you in. So he does it, and you go into the next thing, and there's three tunnels. So they wanted to take the first one to Egypt. So the government, they were letting scientists in. They blocked them off. They covered their hoods. They had no idea where they were. And they put it in front of some technology and had them try to decipher it. And same thing they've done in Wyoming and in other areas where they find this. They keep all the information secret and they bring in linguists to read things and all these things. No one really knows the whole picture. It's only for the elite dark force, the people that rule the world. Uh, they don't rule anything, but um, they do a lot of bad things. So he gets in there. So they start sending these electric things down and taking supplies and bringing extra batteries, and they go back and forth till they finally reach Egypt. So they got all these stationed along the way, and they set up an expedition. So Brad Cesar and Radu Sinamar get to go down there with these American guys, and one of them was like a 20-year-old tech with a computer that a screen picked up, when he literally moves the hologram, and that's how he's doing it. And uh, like with JP and Michael Sala, if you're the wrong vibration, you don't get to go past. But so they get down there, and where it is, and Fred Bell had talked about this, there is probably an entrance from the Sphinx, but that's a special one. It's closed off. But it's near the Sphinx, and they found there were some reptilians that were headed down there in a tunnel from beneath the pit, and then they, for some reason, turned left, and there was a dead reptilian. So they were trying to access that room, and that room has like metal plate CD type things that they had a machine there, and it would play, and you could look into the past. I highly recommend you read the Transylvania Sunrise series, Transylvania Sunrise, Transylvania Moonrise. Um, and then I forget,
Author.
Peter, yeah, Peter inserted one in
Those are
there.
Peter's books.
Well, no,
Transylvania.
no, no, he translates them. In
Okay,
one of
okay,
them,
got it.
he spent a lot of time talking about himself, but uh, you know, uh, a lot of good things to learn there. I won't digress too much, but they go to in there and they give it to the U.S. government. And about 3 years later, they finally figure out how to access it. And there's so much information, the formation of the galaxies, the history, and all kinds of stuff. I'm not sure they could do so much with that, but that information will be available to humanity at some point. There's also Akashic records for every soul on the earth. And when the bad guys are gone, and probably by 2040 or something, uh, we'll be a little better off. Everyone thinks we're ascending to the fifth dimension. That's not happening for the earth at any time. Look around. I mean, really? You think we're ascending to the fifth dimension? The frequencies are changing, yes, but different things are happening. So they've got a series of books. Another great one for you to is called Forgotten Genesis. And he gets to go inside the inner earth and travel on the trains with different groups. And they're talking about life extension. And there's a company called Fulmina Distillery or whatever. And they're created by real alchemists. They're living 400 to 600 years old. And the explanation is even now it's hard for them to create some of the tinctures because everything's so polluted. But in that book, they talk about the Great Pyramid, how it was built, and ask the Venusians. They said it's very accurate. That's what it is. So Enlil and Enki, what happened is Enlil, they had come here to mine gold. So they're up there. They're in a higher dimension. They're not even physical. So they create avatars like we're creating avatars by being born, but we don't remember. They put their body in the stasis chamber and they incarnate into a body that they reproduced, and they look like the big curly beards and the gods that we worshipped, and they accepted that worship. They're not gods. There's only one God. We could say to us they would seem as demigods with their powers and
Mhm.
technology, just
Mhm.
like we seem to the islands in New Guinea, uh, the 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 pyramid or the airplane cults that they have. So there's always explanations. There is one true living God, a pure creative intelligence of love and awareness that is now transforming the earth in another way. So let's go back to the tunnels there. So they have other tunnels that went inside the earth. They didn't have to go very far. It's a dimensional thing. They just go down, and then they were able to meet some of the masters in there. They went to another one down in South America, and so a lot to learn about interdimensionality. They really they spent like a whole chapter kicking the ass of flat earthers, talking about the psychological problems, and we can't go back to 2D no matter what they think. There was a firmament, and that was around when Noah was here. The temperatures were even, and there was a destruction. Now, the Venusians have told me that the Earth. Good.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I had a question. So they did say that. So now that tunnel, they have frequency generations. They have a hologram that protects it, and people get near there and they get fearful and they go away. So it's pretty well hidden, and there's not a big deal about that tunnel. But they've gone there's a tunnel to Tibet. There's a tunnel, the etheric crystal. So there's a lot to learn, and he's working on another book right now. And my hat's off to Peter, and I respect, his opinion, but he was just not really ready to focus and get the truth from from someone who traveled in time. That's another story.
So Rob, we're getting at this beautiful, man. I mean, just such great information. So I think we're getting close to we're maybe an hour and 25 minutes. And like we had talked about, this will be an ongoing series because there's just so much information to disseminate and talk
Yeah.
about. And I'm so happy that we're, starting off talking about Fred Bell, the pyramids. Before we sort of wrap up
Yeah.
this show, what I'd like to do is talk about your work. Now, when you put that pyramid on your head, you were talking about how it's putting your brain into an alpha state. And I want to talk a little bit about the technology, the benefits of that technology, and
Okay.
then promote the website address, and then we can maybe ask a question or two more.
Yeah.
But what are some of the benefits? And one of the questions I also had was some of the multiple pyramids, or even the one that you're wearing, would that be conducive to like hang over your bed at night? Because I know the legend of Dr. Fred Bell was that this guy had pyramids all over his entire house. Like you started
I
off
do
the show
too.
talking about the pyramid guy. So we could maybe circle back with that, talk about the benefits, and talk about how you're carrying on his work with these beautiful
I'd
pieces
like
of.
to share some of that. So these are the various devices, MIDI sorry, you can check all these out. And I'm going to show you on one of these devices here. I think we can go into the ion shower, which is pretty cool. So the Tesla powered supply costs more money, but I'm going to share with you some things. This is where you want to go and you want to read about it. So here's the Promise Pyramid Systems Technology. I think this is the original manual. So yeah, no, that's not it. Sorry. I got another link here that's really important that we can show you these amazing designs and give you a quick overview. So we have the, for instance, I'm going to show you a quick video of how the pyramid protects from ELF and from 5G. Okay.
Okay, folks, here, watch. I got my meter. I got my cell phone. Watch how the pyramid can change the signal. 211 down to 76, down to 71. My battery's a little low.
So that shows
This brings it
that
into
shows the Faraday cage effect. I had other devices on. I had a heater. I had a bunch of electrical things on that were putting it up high. So it acts as a Faraday cage. When you wear it on your head, you're putting it under. Here we we have the ELF coming in, and we put a system, and we create it with these different things, and we have lasers and stuff. So I want to show you another um, original pyramid systems. Here it is. So this is the original manual that we did years and years ago. I reproduced it a little bit, changed a few things, but that's me in Egypt in 2012. So here's the various things. So we talk about the pyramids. I'm going to get straight to the images. And here's a picture of me, Fred Bell. We used to all go around wearing pyramids on our head. There's a Playboy bunny I was dating. This guy financed Fred some amazing things. He was from the original Guru. So this is one I make. You can wear it over you can put it over your bed. I can make them gold plated, or you can keep it. It's kind of has a steel copper. And so here's the vitamin. It goes over, you can put water on it. There was a guy from Valley of the Moon in near San Francisco. He wanted to get the largest pumpkin in the world. And so he was fluctuating with the big boys around 760. And so he asked us to do it. So we got a giant crystal. We put it outside his uh, in the garden where he was planting these pumpkin seeds, and we got him a kiddie pool. We put a large pyramid over it, and he would charge it with water and only water those with that. And then at darkness at 8 o'clock, the laser would kick on and shoot the crystal. The sun goes through a phase shift from red in the morning, the pituitary gland, get you up, get you going, get started in your day, and get activity. And that is the growth hormone. So that makes everything grow. And by midday, it's in the middle of the spectrum, which is the thymus, the green, the heart chakra, and that's a different thing. And then it sets at violet, which gets you calming, relaxing. So nature has this perfect balance of the seven things. So vitamins, that you can't absorb them unless you have your minerals. Vitamins come in, but if you don't have minerals, then those are absorbed in large intestine. Everyone's intestine is filled. You're not allergic to gluten. You're allergic to insecticide and pesticides that they put on there, and it messes with everything. So, understanding the truth of your body, its electrochemical nature, is very important. So we get down here, we get into these more advanced systems, and so I'm going to show you. So this is a jewelry device and how the pyramid, and I have a whole manual on that that you can see for free. And I'm going to give everyone the thing. This is a pyramid or a UFO Fred was working with out in the desert. And there was something called the T-700 time machine, which is kind of what uh, Sandra's trying to create. But so I want to get into the other pictures. So here we see the seven dimensions: solid, liquid, gas, ionic. Everyone says the ether is a plane. It's not. It's part of the physical uh, dimension, and this is what we call plasma ships, and they're doing all that. So we go into the north and south pole. We learn about electricity, frequencies, where it's located, and how it relates to life force and the endocrine glands, which is the source of our feelings. So all of these endocrine glands have different numbers of petals, and these are affected by our thoughts and feelings and environment. If we're feeling sexual feelings, that's the sacral chakra. If we're feeling digestion, we're into the splenic chakra, and then this is the thymus, the thyroid. They all have different functions and the energies from the universe. So we're going into that. This is teaching you about your body and chakras. This talks about the various planes and what they look like on your aura. And I'm going to get down to here's the pyramids. Now, the electrons jump off a pyramid in p orbitals. So coming down, and this looks what you get like a chakra of a pyramid. So this is the device that goes over the top of the pyramid. And when you look down, this is the lotus field that's over it. So the sun sends off energy. Okay. So we have a device called the scalar wave, and we put something in here. And so we create a whole energy system. When you sleep and you go out of your body and you jerk back, your astral body is jumping back in because there is a taxi driver who does a talk, and your body wants protection of the physical body. So when you sleep, you're realigning yourself, and the Venusians are giving me messages. We create 7 of these. This is the ion shower with the Tesla coil, and we create these systems. And you can, I've had mushroom growers and marijuana growers. Their growth goes off the chart. The segments are
Uh,
larger,
Rob,
smaller.
Rob, can we go back to that one with the bed and the sleeping?
Yeah, that's
Uh, I think you just
yeah,
passed it.
yeah.
So what is that? What is the technology that you're using in that room to like separate the astral body from the does that get into like promoting lucid dreaming and things like that? Is
I'll tell you, when you have it, your dreams are going to be very vivid. It feels like you didn't sleep. You're going to be freaked out because you only need about 6 hours of sleep, but you're not tired. You
what
wake up.
technology are you using in the room? What piece of technology was that you were?
I
Is
have
that something that
crystal.
you make that's on the website?
Yeah, I mean, I just got the new one. The price of steel's gone up, so I have a new one. I just don't have the funding to do it right now. Doing a lot of stuff. So
That is amazing work. When I see what you're doing, that is an absolutely massive amount of data. That's just one page on this website. I could spend a month on there trying to, understand it and read it and reread it, but that is really an amazing amount of data that you put on there.
I'm going to show you the advanced pyramid systems. Now, this is a guy, he calls himself Buddha Maitreya. I built all of these devices for him, for Fred. He lived in Maui, and the Dalai Lama came over. He was recognized as a Tolku. Now he's gone a little off his role. I'm the world teacher. I'm Christ. I'm Buddha. He was given monasteries, and he's integrated women into the monasteries. So this is what the system looks like, and this is how it works. You put a gemstone down here of specific frequency, and we put a power supply up, and we hook them all up in series. And so depending on the gemstone, the frequencies will be different. And when you look from the top, I'm not going to go into that. I just want to show the images. So we put different pyramids in different positions with the compass. This is how to install it. And then when you look from the top, is the irradiators. So if we go here, the highest frequency one would be a diamond or a quartz. We get over here, it's maybe a ruby and emerald. We get down here, and we're getting into some of the slower moving stones down here. This is what the energy looks like. This is a real ascension chamber. So what we do is we connect it with lasers and stuff. So lasers through the crystals into the body, and lasers is a whole tutorial itself. So I did want to share with you real quick. I really want people to check out my Truth References blog, and we'll go to Victory of the Light first. And I am speaking with the Venusians, and so I have a whole bunch of stuff that you can check out here. Um,
Wow.
so I'm going to share with you. I have conferences, and I do meditations. I take people on tours to Bolivia and all that stuff. This is George Adamski, lived 2 doors away from my childhood home. And I'm going to show you, this is a friend, this is a woman actually. George Adamski was told to tell him it's a man, but it was a woman. And this is the woman I met, the moon base commander. And I have, uh, recordings of her. I can't share the videos unless you go to my homepage and look up the inner circle. So we come down here, and there's a lot of information here. One of the main things I wanted to share with you is we do have other things. So let me show you real quick HARP, because this relates to the bad negative. So you see, these are the antennas. And what are they? These antennas are pyramids. They have a pole with an X, and it goes up to the top, and it creates a pyramid. Here's a field of them, and they create these giant portals of energy, and they're ripping holes in the ionosphere. And this is the Philadelphia experiment, going invisible, gone. And Nikola Tesla again and Einstein were against it. This is about mind control. And this is the negative part of the government's secret space program. That's a real spaceship. And they create weather. Here's a Navy guy. They wanted to, okay, let's create a couple of tornadoes and monitor it. They got a helicopter. They're so precise. with their weather control. Um, they're just watching it. So here is some of the tech guys watching the HARP in action. Here's another type of technology they use. Here's a weather modification device at JPL. This is the black hole that they're creating portals into the dark side. That's been removed. Here again, I'm just going to show you. This is George Bush Sr., originally known as George Scherf. His father is taking the picture. We would call him Prescott Bush, but his real name was George Scherf. George Bush Jr. This is Hitler's bodyguard who released this picture. This is George Scherf's wife, Barbara Walker Bush, but she was really Scherf. This is Mengele. This is Reinhard Gehlen. There's Martin Bormann. There's Mama Scherf. And this one looks more like George Scherf. I don't even know who that is. But she is the daughter of Aleister Crowley, and her sister is Betty White. So you get into the adrenaline creeping. So there's Bormann, there's Mengele. That's Goebbels. He's not in there. But here we see him telling the president, sign the papers. The Fourth Reich is taking over. They were supported by all the money people in America. Here's another mini HARP program. There's Brookhaven Labs. There's the pyramid over the bed. This is what it looks like with crystals of various devices. And so check this out. This is a HARP project. And they actually have a physical device here shooting off frequencies over the HARP. And they're creating a giant portal into the lower astral. This is Neuralink's wet dream and all of that stuff. So in conclusion, I'm going to share with you one more thing is the Venusian messages. And for everyone who's listening, I'm going to give you a free code to my inner circle. And I'm going to tell it to you now. And it's ICM capital 333. So here's our inner circle member. You would go down here, sign up. You have to fill out all the information. It's normally $59. You even pay for it. But if you put that thing and apply the coupon, you'll get free, and you will get all of these messages. I'm going to show you just for a brief moment one of the memberships here, and I've got to share this with you real quick. Well, I'm not really supposed to share one of the images in there, but there are Venusian messages where you can hear them talk. And the Queen of Venus, they talk about dreams, and you can read the transcript from Valiant Thor. This is the woman I met, all this stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you for letting me have this time. Let me take a couple questions, and next time we can go into, I want to play the Venusian messages. Here is an Andromeda device. This one acts as a battery for the battery. We muscle test you. It doesn't matter. We have different designs for them, but they're all 989 silver, and then you can plate it with gold. That's a sapphire. And this one is a quantum device. It kind of heals things. If you're having a hard day and a lot of things going on or family problems, it kind of resolves them. I could tell a story about that. But so I'll let you, if you have a couple final questions, I'd love to answer that. And thank you for being patient while I figured I'd just take advantage of it and get up and get this started.
So glad you did. And, everything's so spontaneous. We got your information over the weekend, and then I'm talking to you and I know it's early. We started this call at around 10:15 East Coast time. You're on West Coast time. That's 7 in the morning. And we were talking at 6:30 this morning for you. Yeah. So to just jump on, with very little notice, I'm very grateful. And, it's interesting because I intersect with you on so many different things, but as a generation behind, right? So I've heard the legend of Fred Bell, but I never spent time with Fred. I never knew Fred. I know Fred so much better after this conversation than I ever did. And also the knowledge of the pyramids and all that. Like everybody knows pyramids, and we know like some very superficial things, but now understanding on a much deeper level. And then you tie in this meeting with Babaji Maharaj, who, as somebody who read the autobiography of a yogi, which for me, when I watched, that was a book. I don't even read books generally, but when I got that book, I could not put it down. And then I spent, like I was down in Pacific Beach, Mission Beach area, so I was a little south of you, but I lived right next door to the Krishna temple, and so anything Vedic, Srimad, everything, I was just like fascinated by that. And so, all these stories, all these revelations, all this history, it's rich history. And I'm so grateful to start getting this introduction to it because I feel like a little kid sitting at a campfire. And Rob, with me and David, I feel like the one thing that's really important about what we do is to encapsulate this knowledge and this data and do these interviews and put it out there. So it's almost like a little Akashic record mini file where people can come in and learn about you, learn about your work, start getting educated and learning, because right now we're heading into a time where we're getting close to disclosure at a higher level. And it's important that people like you that have already been in this reality for 30, 40, 50 years are able to share these experiences and this amazing wisdom and knowledge and kindness and love and unconditional
Thank
love
you.
that's coming from these different places. And introducing that to people so that there isn't like this fear-based reality that they like to push on us to try to stay away from it all. And it's important that these messages get out. And so I'm so ecstatic. I'm so grateful. I love everything about what you're doing, who you are as a person, the knowledge, the research, you've put so much time into your career and you've documented so much. That's like 10 Encyclopedia Britannicas that we just went through in 3 minutes that anybody that really wants to start doing some deep diving, you've got so much information there. So with that being said, I'm super grateful.
I want to share one more thing here. So
Yeah,
these are my past events. This is my upcoming event. I usually have a lot of people at my events. And I did one, I have a lot of speakers usually. Alex Collier comes and the Gospel of Thomas. And I did one back in that's in Austria, Japan, and Mount Shasta. And then I've done my big one was one of the bigger ones was with and it's Peru and Bolivia. But in this one, uh, we had a huge group of people at 2016. That was
Corey
over.
Good, Michael Salla, Laura Eisenhower. That is like an all-star cast right there.
Yeah, it was a great one. It was a little easier. I got a little too busy, but I want to share with you the coming conference. And this is where
What is your
I
next
think it's
one?
going to be very special, real quick. You go here on the homepage, you click on, and this is a website within a website. This will take you back to the real website. But this woman was born on Venus. I sent you a video on her. These are two ascended masters. They won't be coming or speaking, but I've written an introduction and her books are in there. So we have free volunteers. It's for 5 days, and you're going to meet a woman who was born on Venus, who's probably 220 Earth years. She landed in Tibet, and amazing. We're going to just, uh, he will be ascending. They've told him he's leaving the Earth. He's written like 12 books and he's on an autobiography right now. So it's like right now it's 5 days, and we're only letting like 45 people. So very rare. We've already sold 10 tickets, but we're encouraging people to, if you'd like to come, um, you know, it'll be worth it if you can make your commitment to see that. And we'll be doing seeing mountain and sacred sites and all that stuff. So I did want to share that. Next
Please.
time, let's talk about the challenge of the earth, the earthquakes. We got Etna going off. You've got a lot of earth changes, natural. The government's doing some things, and we can go into that a little bit, but we'll focus on the positive message of the Venusians and the recordings that you can now see. You've joined the inner circle, you're a member. And anyone who uses that code, once again, ICM capital 88833, you're going to see all the questions and images. You'll have access to look at the videos. You can't download them. The moon-based commander does have uh, an aspect of her life. She is what is called an oversoul. She can project an etheric double like Sai Baba. She can be here and she can be in the council meeting on the backside of the moon. It's so difficult to wrap your head around it, but thank you guys so much for the time.
So much. And just for anybody out there, all the links that we're talking about, go down to the description. We'll have those all down at the bottom. So if you're watching this, don't worry about that. Just go down there and you can get to all this information, the seminar, the products, the pyramids, the information, and the secret entrance to the Venetian messages, which is like super cool. It's our little entrance into an online sphinx, if you will. So with that being said, David, before we cut short here, do you have any questions, or is there anything you'd wanted to add on to that fantastic download of information?
Great. Thanks, Sean. Rob, thanks so much. Just for the audience, anyone listening here, and even Sean, Rob is another example of a person that when I talked to him the first moment, that's why we're still together. It's that tight. It's at that zero, what he talked about, and we talk about it, the 0.00 absolute, actually the womb of zero. It's actually in the dead center of that pyramid that he holds up. Actually, it's not the top, it's not the pinnacle, and it's not the bottom. It's in the space in between what we would think is top and bottom. And what I found very interesting, and I'm glad that this is being recorded, because Rob, you are master.
They designated me as a messenger. I'm a junior messenger of what they call the angel force, the ministry of angels. They come in and out of time, and they're working behind the scenes so as not to interfere. And I want to do a teleportation and get down and where David is and jump in the water. It's I got 3 feet of snow out here, and he's getting it's
yeah.
We're all jealous.
This is what I wanted to do, and kind of wrapping up here. There was like I said, this is recorded, so I can actually now go back and I can kind of do like an analysis of what you actually just spoke in the last hour, 20 minutes or so, which is incredible because, like Sean said, your website is a library in itself. It's not the Akashic because it is your interpretation, expression, and your, like you said, mediumship of delivering a message. You're a messenger and a witness, and you're a participant, you're a creator, and obviously you're all of the above because you're connected. It's so great that you have that.
I don't get telepathic. I don't do channeling, but I get telepathic messages. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Raymond Keller, who lived on Venus. He's written 12 books. He did view the Akashic records. He can explain about that, their lifestyle, and he's very humble. He's an adept, and he'll be speaking. He has so much information.
Great. When is your event coming up in Mount Shasta?
It's June 27th through July 2nd.
And June 27th to the July 2nd.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Forest Service will open up the mountain on the 1st of July so we can go up and do some meditation. I know a couple spots. I have pictures of masters that appeared in the meadows there. It's amazing. Telos is actually a Venusian colony on Lemuria that knew bad things were coming, and they built that out. They started out with about 30,000 people. There's about something like 3 million people. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just ask. I want to just kind of rattle off another couple of questions, but in Mount Shasta, there's the Stargate experience and Alcazar. Do you know Alcazar and the Stargate experience?
A lot of people have good experiences and stuff. I they came to my house. They weren't, you know, I'm very congenial and open and social, and I showed them my technology, and I don't know if they had jet lagged or something, but they seem to be nice. I mean that device they have there, they have one pyramid, but whatever that is, people are getting good information, and I heard the meditations are great. Um, and there's so many people doing that good thing, and you know, I mean,
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make a comment because there's from knowing more about your life, Rob, and your journey, there's crossovers, and in a specific area is Laguna Beach because Sean, you and I, we all cross over at there on the street. So our energetic connection is telepathic that way. If we come back to that moment of when and right now we're connected now, we can do that in work together, travel together, trust each other and things. But there's a lot of connection here. You've mentioned even Urantia, the book Urantia, which is something, and also Anunnaki, and all of this on our show already. This is a daily show we're trying to do. Sometimes because of Sean's schedule on the weekend, we take Sunday, maybe even Saturday. But this is like the third running week, and so the real benefit for what we're doing here is it really accentuates what you're about, Rob, because
we're all synergistically coming together here.
Yeah. Well, but specifically, I know Sean keeps kind of mentioning that this could be like a running experience. But rather than doing that, maybe actually it could be a combination of both where it's us coming together occasionally, but you also, just as a master and a teacher, what we're trying to do is limit these recordings to 1 hour, specifically 1 hour, like on a schedule, like but not like a pre-scripted schedule, just like a programming schedule. And it could run over into each other. For example, like right now, we would be going into the second hour of that programming. It's not going to push out anybody else because really
you could edit it down and just cut it in half.
No.
Yeah.
No, I want it all out there right away. We just do another show and pick up.
All right. Well, God bless you guys. I thank you so much. We'll be in touch. You can send me the links, and I'm going to send one to my summer conference. That's what I want people to come, and it's going to be very.
That's what I'm saying. We're having an event next week. Actually, this week on Friday. It's 8 days and 7 nights, and it's talking about all. We're going to be doing a live stream with Sean. And so the topic's going to be just what we're continuing. It's not going to be different, but I'm going to be doing 24 hours here for 8 days. And I'm going to have 24 hours, 8 days.
Are you getting some cocaine shipped in from Colombia? How are you going to stay up?
I'm going to use one of those pyramids, like you say. I designed something beyond that pyramid. Quite honestly, we're not going to get into that because I know that we've had several other conversations and we don't agree totally on what you just said. I want everyone to understand that. Not that you're wrong, Rob. Not that you're wrong, and not that
I was just joking. I was joking.
No, but I just want to say that we had a gentleman, David Beverly. Do you know David Beverly, Ley Senior?
No.
NASA. Do you know David?
No, not David. I don't know him. I know David Adair.
Okay. Well, anyways, David came on a couple episodes ago. You can listen to that show. And we don't know David, just like we don't really know you. But David came on. It was kind of the contrary of what you're saying, because he said there's no space. There are no planets. There's no moon. The earth is not flat. And we are in a bubble where there's water on top of us and water below us. So basically, to me, what you just said about all of the everything is the opposite of what he just said. I don't know. Is there
Look, I mean, people can claim that we don't exist, but in reality, the universe is breathing. Manavatar and Pleiadean are being recreated millions of times a nanosecond. I'm sending you some links here, John, to maybe put up. But God
Well,
bless
I'll
you.
have all those links on there. And you know, the beautiful thing is, Rob, we kind of give everybody a chance to speak their truth, whatever it might be. But
Yeah, of
as
course.
people
And
who
I
are unconditionally loving and compassionate, you know, that's the best part. But once
absolutely.
again, I have to just say thank you so much for taking the time. This has been so much fun. And like David said, I'm going to go back and rewatch this interview myself. And I'll connect with you. I'll send you the links. Give me a day or so. I'm going to get Seth's up next. I should be able to get you up by tomorrow, maybe today, depending on. Sometimes it takes a little time just to get the
That's
files
okay.
loaded and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm very grateful. I love share the message, and I literally could talk for 4 days and never
I
feel the
love that,
same.
but with so much good information, it's like if we were sitting at a campfire, it would be sunrise because I wouldn't want to go to bed.
I know some people when they listen, that just gets to a certain point and they just can't digest. It's okay. You can process it, listen to it slowly, and the website has new information. And the really creme de la creme is just sharing and listening to the Venusian messages. I'd love for you to hear them and ask questions about that. In our next one, we'll focus
We
on
definitely will. I will be on that. I will be listening, and I can't wait to catch up with you again soon.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Both.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day, and we'll be back in touch soon.
All right. God bless. Bye.
God bless you.